All right, guys. This is 3B on quiz, chapter 18 and 19 quiz. According to Gallup, 33% of the Americans polled say they frequently experience stress in their everyday lives. In part A up here, they give you essentially that they took a sample of 45. So in part B, we just want to look at another scenario. Part B is if 20 students, and again, we're talking out of 45. In the class said they frequently experience stress in their everyday lives, would you be surprised? Explain and use statistical methods to support your response. So if you step back a second and think about what's going on, all they're asking you to do is identify if you took a sample of 45 and you got 20 of them said they frequently experience stress in their everyday lives, is that an extreme sample proportion? Is that an extreme sample proportion? Anytime that we're kind of evaluating how extreme something is, you guys should be thinking z-scores. All right. So we already talked about, oops, I just spelled that wrong. So we're talking about a normal distribution. We went through and checked the conditions before. So what we want to do is we want to approach this by finding how extreme this value is out of 45. So how extreme is it if we get a p-hat of 20 out of 45, which is 0.44, compared to the 33% of Americans polled in general. So we need a z-score for this particular p-hat. And if you remember from before, we're operating under the normal model that our population proportion is 0.33. And because we have a sample of size 45, this would be 0.07. I'm not going to go through that calculation because I already did in the previous video. Essentially, if you want to do it on your own, or you haven't seen the previous video, this is how you do it. Sorry, square root of that. Square root of p times q over n, that's going to give you this 0.07 value. So you can check that by yourself. Here's the model we're operating under. So again, a quick sketch of that will give us a general idea of what we're trying to figure out here. I'm just going to draw a general sketch. There's our normal model, 0.33 is in the center. We know that our sample proportion is going to be somewhere up here. We don't know how extreme, but we know it's going to be somewhere up here. So we need to figure out if this is extreme or not extreme. Go through and we need to calculate a z-score. So the z-score for this particular p-hat, 0.44, we're going to calculate by taking p-hat minus the population proportion. And we're going to divide that by our standard deviation that we calculated using this over here. So we plug this into our calculator. Hopefully before you calculate, you can kind of see this is going to be 0.11 over 0.07. What we're looking for is something that is greater than 2 standard deviations away from the mean, because that means it is somewhat unusual. So when we calculate this, we get something that looks like 1.57, which means it is 1.57 standard deviations above the mean. Hopefully our intuitive sense of standard deviation tells us, hey, that's not really that far off. It's not really an extreme value. So our explanation here at the end, using statistical methods to support your response, we would say something to the effect of if 20 students out of 45 responded that they frequently experienced stress in their everyday lives, that is only 1.57 standard deviations above the mean. Therefore, we would not be surprised. We would not be surprised to get this result with a sample of 45 students.